Today, we're going to talk about how you can maximize ROI with conferences. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe, whatever platform you are coming from, if you want to grow faster, both professionally and personally. I was just at a conference last week in Dublin called SaaS Talk, and it was amazing. So the key thing when you go to conferences is this. You want to go to a conference that has the right gathering of people. So for me, I'm interested in SaaS. I speak at SaaS conferences, so a SaaS conference makes a lot of sense. And that's how I maximize ROI. And people actually that listen to my podcast are SaaS people. And also they're different entrepreneurs, they're e-commerce entrepreneurs. When I go to these conferences, people will notice me. It's kind of like an inbound thing, right? Where I get to talk to people too. But you can see where I'm hovering around. The first thing is people. You are going to a conference because you're interested in a subject, and there's going to be other people that are also interested too, right? So the way I maximize it, because I'm naturally an introvert, so what I do is I make sure that I throw a dinner every time, right? Or you can do a happy hour, something like that. You can tie it with people. And you might say, I don't know that many people. Eric, it's easy for you to say because you kind of have a little bit of an audience. I know a guy in Toronto, he used to do this all the time. He would just get a bunch of entrepreneurs together. He himself, he wasn't an entrepreneur quite yet. He might be entrepreneurial, but everyone else had businesses, everyone else, kind of super successful, but he was the guy for connecting them, right? That's how you throw these dinners. Maybe you do it like 6 to 10 people or so. I make sure I do a dinner every single time, and I can connect with people on a more personal level. And also, I just make sure I get more touch points with people. When I went to this conference, they had a podcast stage. I happen to have a podcast. So I made sure I could do as many podcasts as possible, even though I was sick. I nailed in a bunch of podcasts, and then 2 other people approached me too to do a quick interview with them. And I also pinged a bunch of people that were there. I said, hey, want to meet up? Like my friend David Hensel. Like we just message each other on Facebook Messenger, and that's how we communicate. We'd even text each other. It's like, hey, I'm at breakfast at this place. He just shows up at breakfast, right? That's how you maximize ROI. You make sure that you don't just get lost in the sea of people, but you are very intentional about who you want to meet up with, and you put events together where maybe you pay for drinks or you pay for dinner, and basically you get people together. And then afterwards, if you want, I think about the event that we did afterwards where we did axe throwing and things like that. That was an opportunity to connect with more people on a different level, because you're not in a business environment anymore and you're just kind of messing around, but you're talking with each other, you're joking around with each other, you're building relationships. That's how you maximize ROI. What you don't want to do, which is negative ROI, is you go to a conference and you spend time watching all the talks. Maybe you do that in the beginning, but as your goal is to get more customers, you figure out, spend some downtime and just go chat with people, just go network with people. I don't really like walking into a group of people that I don't know, but what I would do is I'll always make sure that I'm with someone else. And from there, we're kind of confident. I'm more confident to kind of approach other people and just talk to them, right? And oftentimes, I'll see people that I know, and they'll be really far away. I'll just email them later, and we'll end up getting coffee later. Even if you haven't seen someone for a couple years, you see them for 5-10 minutes or so, that goes a long way, and that might lead to something else because they're in a different, they might be in market for maybe what you offer at the time. Your job when you go to conferences is not to say, how many leads can I get? How many cards can I get? It's more so, how many true relationships can I build? How can I truly help people? And that's how you maximize the ROI of conferences, right? And I actually shot some videos in Dublin talking a little more about conferences and what you should and you shouldn't be doing. I'm gonna throw them into this clip as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, enjoy it. There's a lot of visual stimulation. If not, you're still gonna get a lot of good tips from this piece of content as well. I am at SaaS Talk 2019 in Dublin, and you can see it's beautiful, right? You have a lot of different companies here. You have Salesforce behind me, you have G2 over there, who's on our customer advisory board. They spoke at our conference before. You have Google next to us. We have Intercom. We have Stripe, Profitwell, all these great companies, right? So they're all sponsoring. And what happens is a company like SaaS Talk, it's very niche, right? You have a lot of people in the space coming together to learn from each other and to network, right? Build relationships with each other. And I hosted a dinner on Monday. Right when I landed, I had a dinner that happened at 6 p.m. We got to the dinner, and a couple of people at dinner, people were starting to talk to each other. It's like, oh, we should do something. Oh, we should do something, right? It's the little touch points that happen. This is why I do podcasts in the first place. It's that one touch point, because after you talk to them, it's like, oh, by the way, what do you do? Oh, by the way, we should do something, right? Literally yesterday, I did 6 podcast interviews on the podcast stage over there. And we did the podcast interviews, and then afterwards, people were like, dude, we should do something. We're trying to do this right now. Hey, who do you know? Who do you know, right? And so it's all about helping each other. It's about the touch points. And you cannot beat the in-person effect of being at a conference. This is why I travel all the way to places like Dublin, to Ukraine, even Ukraine. There's people that gather together from all over Europe, and we get together and we talk. we become friends, and next year we meet again. It's like, oh, by the way, you should speak at my conference. We should do something, right? So that's why I'm like, okay, even if you've never spoken before, you go speak at a small local event, and then what happens is you speak at a bigger event, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you get experience, you can do that. Or you can piggyback on other people's events too. You can, let's say it's a really big conference, you can say, oh, you know what? I want to do a happy hour that's tied to the event. Or I want to do a conference the day before the main event, right? And that's how you build a bigger and bigger audience. But the key thing here is the in-person touch points. Just because we're online, just because you're watching this video online right now, doesn't mean the in-person goes away. Because we're human, we're social creatures by nature, all right? So I want to share a story behind last year's SaaS Talk. So last year, what happened was I landed and I hosted a dinner. That was the first thing, right? I had 12 SaaS founders there. There's a guy I didn't meet I knew him online for many years, Steli Efti from Close.com. A lot of other people, there's some investors there too. Just a lot of people I normally wouldn't connect with, right? And we became friends afterwards. So that was good, that was a good touch point. I covered a dinner. And then the next thing is I spoke at the conference, right? So I did the podcast, that was more touch points with people, co-founder of Zendesk. And in addition to that, I spoke, right? So I spoke for about 20 minutes. Today I'm speaking at about 3:40 p.m. in a couple hours. But that's going on too. That's more touch points, more people that haven't seen me before, and then they come up to me and talk to me afterwards. And then after the event, they had another event called SaaS Society. In SaaS Society, we went to this posh kind of castle thing, and then we went shooting, clay pigeon shooting in the morning. People did whiskey tasting, we did golfing, we did a lot of different events, right? During those times, those touch points, I got to interact with, I became good friends with a guy named Satish and Saravana, right? Who are based in London. That was quality time I wouldn't have gone with them otherwise. On the bus ride there, we talked about, you talk about amazing things that you normally wouldn't talk about. He talked about his wife, he talked about his kids, he talked about his parents. Yesterday at dinner, I was with two VCs, and one guy, they're revealing all these, one guy has a yacht, right? One guy flies planes upside down and takes selfies, right? And one guy flies or drives a little mini carts. These are personal touch points where you don't have a business wall up anymore. You are interacting with them. It's a human being, and humans like to do business with humans at the end of the day. And that's how you get the big deals, because you have an in with these people, right? High-level executives, high-level CEOs, founders. These are people you normally wouldn't have access to. But because you do things like this, because you host the event, because you talk with them in a podcast one-on-one, and we all start from zero, right? Don't just think, oh, because I have somewhat of an audience, I have an advantage. It takes time to build there, but the best time to start is now if you have no audience at all, and then just get it going. Even if you host a happy hour or you host a dinner, it doesn't require much interaction from you, but you can be the star of it because you were the one that paid for drinks in the first place, right? So that's what we want to do. You want to get as many touch points as you can, open up as many opportunities for touch points, and then that's how you get the business at the end of the day. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know of the different tips that I gave you, which one you enjoyed the most, or what you think I missed out in terms of maximizing ROI with conferences. And don't forget to check out the next video over there if you're coming from YouTube. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe because it helps us grow and it helps you grow. And we'll see you tomorrow.